Hey tubers, it's Tony, and today I'm going to more so explain to you the process of how to replace your starter on your 2006 Ford Explorer. This is the 4.0 liter motor. The process should be the same for any of the Ford Explorers that you currently drive out there today. The reason why I replaced the starter on this vehicle is because it died and wasn't working. If you should suspect that your starter is no longer working, there are a couple things you want to check right quick. You want to check the battery terminals to make sure they're on nice and tight and that there is no corrosion buildup that's preventing power from going to the battery to the starter. You want to check the wires that run from the battery down to the starter. There are two of them. Make sure that they're on nice and tight. There are also no broken wires, etc. If you suspect that your starter's not working, if you hear that means your starter's working, and there may be another problem that may need to be analyzed by a mechanic. The reason why I'm more so going to explain this process to you is because it allows me to focus on all the key points of helping you get the job done correctly and safely. I purchased this starter from rockauto.com. It cost me about $60 versus $150 that the local auto parts store would have charged me. There are a couple things you need to do before starting this job. The first is you want to disconnect the black cable from your battery that keeps you from potentially shorting out any fuses or doing harmful damage to your vehicle's computer. The next thing you want to do is jack the vehicle up. What you want to do next is you want to break the lug nuts loose while the vehicle's on the ground, but don't remove them. After you do that, you want to jack the vehicle up and safely place it on a jack stand. If you do not know how to do this, please stop now and speak with someone that can show you how to safely do this so that you don't get injured. Now that the vehicle is jacked up and safely on a jack stand with the driver's wheel removed, you want to look straight ahead, and what you'll see is a black flap, and it's secured by pull pins. And I'll go out to the vehicle and show that to you in a little bit. Just grab it and firmly pull it loose, guys. It'll come loose. It goes right back in the same way that you pulled it out. And keep in mind, everything that you take apart today goes back together in the reverse order that you will use to take it apart. So now that you've pulled that black flap loose, what you're going to notice is you're going to see the starter sitting in there like this. There are two screws that retain the starter. There's a 13 millimeter bolt up here. This one is a little tough, so you can get to it from the driver's side, or you can get to it with a couple of long drivers and a swivel from the bottom of the vehicle. And again, I'll show you what all that looks like and where it is eventually. So what I did first was I broke loose this bolt here from underneath the vehicle, and you're going to notice that it's a double bolt down here. Right quick. Your alternator, guys, will come with a connection on like this, and it'll give you a little note that says do not remove, etc. You could take this and chuck it to the side, guys. This is only used in the event that your current connection here is damaged. If it's not, you're going to remove it here, and then you're going to reconnect it same place on the new starter, so don't worry about it. So what you're going to notice is the retainer bolts down here and up there from underneath the vehicle. Break this bolt loose, and you're going to see a wiring harness on it. Pull it away from the threads, and then what you want to do is go up top and break this bolt loose. Then what you want to do is go down the bottom, but don't take this bolt out yet. Go down the bottom, and you're going to see a longer 13 millimeter bolt with threads on it. That runs into the transmission, and it's holding on the starter. And remember, it's a double bolt. So break this loose, take it out, and go ahead and take this bolt loose and remove it. So two bolts down here, one up here. Now you're going to see the starter looking at you from underneath the vehicle. Just turn the starter, pull it out, turn the starter towards you, and cock it downward, guys. You can then take your long 13 millimeter socket and driver and break this connection loose here. And this one here is a 10 millimeter connection. Break that loose, and then you can remove the wiring harnesses from them, and then you can pull the starter out from the driver's side of the vehicle. Compare your new starter and your old starter. They should be identical. Put your starter back in to its housing. It should sit in its housing like this, not cocked. And what you want to do is thread that bottom bolt from underneath the vehicle, the long one. Put it in there nice and tight by hand. And then you want to thread the top bolt nice and tight. Once you know the starter is sitting in there correctly, go ahead and tighten up these two bolts. Put your cable back on down the bottom. Put the short bolt back over the long threads. Make sure that's nice and tight. Then what you can do is you can go to the driver's side, and it's easier then to put these two back on by hand. You could reach back in there and do it if you want to, or when it's cocked back down like so, you can go ahead and get to it that way. And I'll be right back because I want to give you guys a helpful hint. Okay, guys, remember I told you that you can reach back there and get to these bolts. Well, let me change that. If you have big arms like I do, you're going to scrape up your arms, and I scraped up mine pretty good reaching in there. If you want, I have a little trick. You can take your 10 millimeter bolt or your 13 millimeter bolt and put it in its socket. Take tape and hold the bolt in place so that it doesn't fall. Well, it just fell. Typically, it doesn't, so hold on. So there you go. So you just put a little tape in there to hold the bolt down, but keep the bolt open so you can get it back on. And then when it's cocked down to you, the starter, you can reach in there, guys, and put that bolt on there without it falling. And then once you got it on there, you can pull the socket away, and then you can go ahead and remove the tape if you want, or you can just go ahead and tighten it up when you first start it. And what will happen is when you pull it away, the tape will stay on the socket and your bolt will be nice and tight. So that's just a little trick, just in the event that you don't want to slide your arm through the driver's side of that little cover. It's a really tight spot, guys, so just be mindful of that. So again, your two bolts down the bottom are nice and tight. Your bolt up top is nice and tight. Your two bolts here are nice and tight. What's left next? Put your black flap back on. Just push it back in the same way you took it out. You want to then put your wheel back on. Tighten up your lug nuts nice and tight, but don't over tighten them. You want to tighten them by hand. Remove your jack stand and then lower the vehicle to the ground. And then what you want to do is tighten one bolt really tight, skip the next one, go to the next bolt, and so on, and come all the way back around. Just make sure they're all nice and tight. And then what you want to do is reconnect the black cable to your battery, and then you should be able to start the vehicle and you should be good to go. So I'm going to run out to the car and I'm going to show you the black flap. I'm going to show you what the starter looks like from the bottom of the vehicle. And I'm going to show you this double bolt right here so that you know what it looks like as well. And then for the most part, we're done with this video. So again, I apologize for not being able to truly demonstrate that to you guys, but doing it this way, I love it because it allows me to focus on key points to help you safely get the job done. So hold tight. I'll be back in one moment. And remember, I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm just going to show you what these look like, and then you should be good to go. So hold tight. Okay, guys, now that I've jacked the vehicle up, here's that black flap that I was telling you about right here. There are the retainer clips for it. Just grab it and firmly pull it. See what it looks like? It just goes right back into the hole right there, just like you pulled it out. Once you take this loose, you're going to notice that there's your starter back there. And see the bolts? Those red things are just covers for the bolts back there. Again, you can stick your arm through here if you want. It's really painful sometimes because it'll rub up against this area because it's really tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the ground now and show you what the bolts look like, and then we're pretty much done. So hold tight. Okay, guys, this is what the starter looks like from underneath the vehicle. And there are those double bolts that I was telling you about. So remove this one first. Remove the wire connection. Then remove the second longer bolt that goes into the transmission. And I'm going to show you the upper bolt and where that is. So from the driver's side of the vehicle, This is the transmission, by the way. There's that top bolt. You can get it from the bottom of the vehicle, or you can get it from the driver's side wheel well, whichever you decide. So now you know where those two bolts are, so hold tight, guys. Okay, guys, so now you have an idea of what that bottom double bolt looks like, what the starter top bolt looks like. So it's a real doable job. And again, I'll leave it up to you as to whether you decide to break the top bolt from underneath the vehicle or from the driver's side wheel. Just remember to put everything back together in the reverse order that you use to take it apart. Just do a dummy check, check all of your connections, and you should be good to go. I hope this video has been informative and helpful to you. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch you next time.